Good, how are you? Man, it's good, she's good. She's good, it's just, it's just an experience, you want to make sure you do everything right.
Yeah. Nonprofit grant applications.
Yeah, so Jeremy has the ballots. They're not in our packet. But is there a presentation for the nonprofit grant applications?
So this is a follow-up from the previous nonprofit grant presentation that you all received at the board meeting. And this is an opportunity for you all to vote on the recommendations or either vote on who you would like to be funded. There are two $5,000 grants, and then actually I'm going to turn it over to Nicole.
Thank you. Nicole?
Everyone, I apologize, I'm a little tardy. So the fiscal year spring 26 nonprofit grant process is complete. We've received the 18 applications. It went through eligibility review, blind scoring, and committee deliberation. The board, you all received those in February and earlier this month. There is $27,000 available for funding. And the review committee has been provided recommendations, but the board isn't bound to go by their recommendations. So at this time, I'm asking if you would like to vote by ballot or or proceed with the review committee's recommendations.
I actually heard very little of what you just said, but I'm going to assume you're just saying that we can vote. Okay. Is your mic turned on?
I think the mics are kind of low, actually. They're all sounding low. So the question at the table for the board to consider if you would like to go ahead and make a motion based on the recommendations of the advisory committee, or if you would like ballots to cast your own votes. So board direction.
What's your thoughts, Commissioner Davis?
Hesitation, to be honest with you, at this point. If the board would like to move forward, we can. If there's hesitation,
I'll
then
just make a
let me know.
recommendation that we move forward to approve the applicants according to what the committee set forth.
Are you making that in the form of a motion, Commissioner Baxter?
Yes, that was, yes.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We do not have a second. Motion dies for lack of second.
Can I just ask a question to the attorney?
Please.
Sorry, I gotta turn around. We're voting not for the final approval, we're voting for what applicants are gonna get the money for the contracts to be written, to be brought back to us for final approval, or how's that gonna work?
Right, you're voting on who you want to enter into contracts with, and then those contracts will be negotiated and brought to the board for approval.
So would you like more time to review, Commissioner Davis? Is that what it is?
The contracts come back to the board?
We haven't discussed.
Let me clarify that. As Katie's pointing out, the board has adopted a procurement policy, so some of these contracts may not reach the monetary level that require board approval, and they may be approved by Katie as town manager pursuant to the procurement policy.
I'm sorry, Dan, can you state that for me one more time?
Sure. So what you're voting on tonight is who you want to
Talking to the mic, please. If you can speak into
I'm trying to, sorry.
That's okay.
Is it on?
It's on.
Okay.
As long as it's green.
All right. So what you're voting on tonight is essentially who you want to get this grant money. Then the next step will be negotiating contracts with those organizations. Those don't necessarily come back before the board because the board has adopted a procurement policy that only contracts above a certain level require board approval. So unless the board votes otherwise, those contracts might be approved or might be at the level that can be approved by the town manager.
Okay.
But we will be entering into contracts. This is not final approval of a contract. This is just which organizations you would like to receive this grant money.
Okay.
I think that's one of the things for me. We don't know which organization. I know there are a number that's supposed to be, I guess, not knowing who it is, but I kind of would like to know who we're giving money to. I mean, I know the 18, they did present, but not knowing, I mean, you have one applicant, 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't know who those applicants are, so.
Right, you received the non-redacted applications in February. It has all the information
We have the applicants, we have the recommendations. So tonight, the discussion is, we either just go ahead and go with, either go ahead and feel comfortable with going with what's recommended by the committee, or if we're not, because that motion did not get seconded, then we take the time to vote on which committees that we would, which organizations we would like to give those funds to. So if that is the pleasure of the board, then I move that we go ahead and get a ballot vote, and then we make the decision of which organizations we would like to donate which funds to.
Thank you. So, Mr. Clerk, we are going to go the ballot process, if that is
Pleasure.
the pleasure.
Minutes to finish preparing them, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will come back to the nonprofit grant applications later in the agenda.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, moving down to old business. Nope, new business. I don't even know where we are anymore. Like, my goodness. Okay, we are, Jeremy, where are we? Where are we at?
If you're done, if you're holding on the nonprofit option for right now, you're moving on to presentations with
Okay.
Bobby.
Presentations, thank you. Director Fitz.
All right, good evening. I'm going to start, this is the first look for you guys at the FY 26-27 budget. What we're going to do tonight, the purpose of this discussion is to share the total department requests received from all departments in our initial request, review the FY 27 revenue assumptions, and clarify some budget decision priorities, and prepare for reprioritization discussions in the coming weeks. As you're aware, we're operating in a current high-growth environment. We have dozens of new residents weekly and monthly. So our service expectations are shifting towards a small city instead of a small town. Excuse me. Our workload growth is outpacing our staffing capacity in many areas, as well as our facilities and workspaces are substandard. Infrastructure demand is accelerating. Without intentional scaling, our service quality that we're accustomed to may erode. You'll notice when you get the budget document, it'll be a little bit different than what some of you are accustomed to in the past. This is to improve transparency for staff, board, and the community. It should strengthen connection between policy, operations, and financial decisions, and provide a clearer context for a growing community. And this should establish a structure that supports long-term planning. You'll see that the policies will be presented at the beginning of the document, followed by a clear explanation of how to read the budget document and interpret the data. There'll be strategic context and growth consideration included. You'll see department narratives with each section, and capital planning and asset readiness will be introduced. This should improve a clear connection between policy and financial decisions. It'll be easier for our departments to explain their service demands and provide a better visibility into operating versus one-time or capital investments. And this will give us a stronger foundation for future capital planning. As far as our FY27 outlook, We were conservative and deliberate. You'll see in the document, FY25 will reflect actual results, of course. FY26, you'll see an amended budget in one column. FY27, it will prioritize organizational stability and capacity building and include evaluate workforce, technology, and facility needs. As far as FY28 and beyond, that would depend upon strategic plan, direction, and what the outcome is of it. This is just the overall outlook at this is revenues and other financing sources. That is installment loans, for instance, transfers in from capital project funds, so on and so forth. These are the grand totals. These are general fund figures. This next slide is a little bit of a little detailed breakout of what makes up these singular yearly columns. Obviously, property tax on the far left, that's our by far our largest revenue source. Here's an overall look at the FY23 through 25 expenditures and transfers out. You'll see FY25, there was a large increase in expenditures and transfers out. Mainly that is due to a lot of transfers out to capital project funds, totaling about $7.8 million. That's what makes up that 29,129,000. And again, here's a little bit of a detailed breakout of by departments of where those expenditures occurred. You'll notice here, and then also in the budget document, we have some splitting out of some departments. You see administration, where administration used to be human resources and administration. That's why there's nothing in the 25 columns. That was done this year in 26. The same thing with IT. That became its own department in 25. As far as the departmental requests that were received, and the operating requests were $29.3 million, capital requests of $8.1 million, existing and new debt service to include the fire station loan. Those all total $882,000. Total requests totaling $38.3 million. For personnel requests, this year we have 115 authorized positions. Excuse me, in FY25 we had 115 authorized positions. In 26, 119 with 9 current vacancies. So far for FY27 requested, we have 24 new positions requested, totaling about $1.36 million. All of those requests will be evaluated against workload demand and fiscal capacity. So far, not to include any fund balance that's appropriated. Of course, we got estimated revenue about $26.6 million. That leaves us, you remember a couple slides back, about 38.3 million, I believe it was, leaving a gap of 11.7 million. 8 million of that gap is operating, a lot of that with the personnel request, as well as 3.7 million in capital gap. So this deficit or gap establishes a starting point for prioritization discussions that will be, like I said, going on in the coming weeks. Revenue assumptions and departmental requests will be fine-tuned throughout the coming couple months. We have limited data on some intergovernmental revenues such as sales tax, utility sales tax, that we will, as we get more data in, we can fine-tune those. And based on The league puts out a revenue estimate that has not been put out yet, that we kind of use as guidance to, that we can fine tune those revenues on. So as I mentioned, with the gap between the expenditures and revenues, the next step is to prioritize needs. Highest priority that will be looked at will be the legal and statutory obligations, followed by public safety and continuity of core services such as police, fire, public works, et cetera. Infrastructure capacity and growth readiness, workforce stability and organizational effectiveness. We'll look to protect our revenues and cost avoidance, and strategic plan alignment. That will depend on what comes out of that will depend on future decisions. And then any discretionary or enhancement type items will be evaluated for foundational needs. As far as some of our guardrails that we're working with in this budget, we're staying, you know, as I mentioned, revenues currently are fairly conservative. We have pretty steady assessed value numbers from Lake County. There are some pending bills in the Senate and the House that could affect some property tax regulation. We have some recurring revenues that could support recurring expenditures. These one-time funds, they obviously will not solve structural gaps. They're for one-time large purchases. And FY27 is going to prioritize organizational stability and capacity building. Any large expansions and projects will be after strategic plan gets adopted. Structural deficits will not be funded through fund balance appropriation. So any connection to future CIP development, there'll be an evaluation with a multi-year context. Have to evaluate potential debt implications such as a bond, which will probably come before the citizens in the next couple of years. There's installment financings that are an option for usually larger equipment purchases. Those might be on a 5-year or so type installment financing. And any urgent needs distinguished from deferrable projects. Operating and debt impacts will be considered together. And facility capacity and space utilizations, they'll be part of the long-term planning in the coming years. So next steps, the departments will reprioritize their existing submissions. They may have to make the hard decisions on, you know, what they could live without. Can they be deferred a little while? Could they be like mid-year hires possibly? Things like that. Must differentiate must-haves from enhancements and clarify one-time versus ongoing commitments, such as if you hire a person or multiple people, that's an ongoing commitment versus the purchase of a truck or something. Departments will be asked to provide supporting workload or service demand data for any purchases and personnel type items. As far as the timeline and milestones in the coming couple months, March 20th was the week of March 20th was departmental meetings to go over their budget request. Tonight is work session 1, where you're getting the initial request. April 9th and 10th, that's the retreat coming up in about 2 weeks now. Work session 2 on April 16th. Work session 3, May 21st, that's when you'll receive the document itself, the recommended budget. And then June 1st is when we propose to hold the public hearing and adopt the FY27 budget. So some questions that we will be discussing in the coming weeks at these future work sessions. Revenue comfort level. Are we ready for the growth that is coming and has come? And we'll discuss capital planning expectations such as a revisit of fund balance policy, if that's something you guys want to entertain. Currently, that's a 30% unassigned, 30% unassigned of budget expenditures. That is, we're right on the brink of that right now due to some transfer, a lot of the transfers out that I mentioned before, that 7.8 million. That's typically not something we've done before. So this will be something that could skew the percentage a little bit. So we could revisit the policy if that's something that everybody's interested in.
So if I could add to that, just to explain it, so our budget policy at the state level, we only have to have 8%, right? Our policy is 30%, and a lot of that has to do with just ensuring that we're protected should we lose a significant amount of revenue. So we have, if you look at the top 15 revenue sources, we have some that are concerning, and large chunks of it comes from some of the companies that we have. And so we want to make sure that we're protected there. However, what that means is our policy is 30%. We're at 33%. So there's very little capacity to take on any capital projects because of that, that debt policy. And so one of the things that we plan to discuss at the budget retreat is whether or not the board wants to consider revising that for capital investment.
And just to make sure that we're all on the same page, 8% is 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're talking about less than 4 months
Mm-hmm.
at our current policy.
And I'll just say, we have a really healthy fund balance. So it's not, I mean, compared to a lot of jurisdictions, that's a pretty healthy fund balance. So I want to put that out there. But Commissioner Baxter is correct that 30% will only get us through a few months.
We'll also have to,
Shannon, speak into your mic, please. Thank you.
how is this a problem?
It's,
Is it turned on?
oh, it's not. That I'm getting.
Okay, now it's turned on.
Okay, all right.
Like, no one ever has a problem listening to me talk. So as we consider what our major sources of revenue are and how that's changing over time, I'm assuming that, it's going to be a much more robust conversation when we get to the budget retreat. But we do have to keep in mind that some of our major tax contributors, their contribution fluctuates from year to year depending on how much reinvestment they have in their own internal infrastructure. And so having that 30% sometimes helps us ride through leaner years when there is not, say, reinvestment in equipment at GSK or the BB&T, or I'm sorry, Truist Data Center.
Any other questions from the board? Comments? Go ahead.
In addition to that, I would also add that and correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby, but our property tax revenue is also tied to landlords, a significant number. So it's tied to the housing market. So that's another concern as well for our top 15 revenue generators. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe in the top 15, I believe there's 4. 4 of the top 15 are property management.
But the property management, don't we have to worry about that less because they already own those assets, and so they're going to be paying taxes on those structures no matter what?
So the concern for me would be if we had a decline in property values. And then the second piece would be what's happening at the state with the possible legislation. So those are things that we have to just be really mindful of as we're as we're evaluating our budget. And that's really why the conversation around economic development is so important, because we need to bring in other revenue sources.
In our budget retreat, would we have the time to talk about, I know with Director Lauer, we had mentioned trying to go forward with the general regional mixed use zoning to incentivize more commercial mixed use by right, to try to get more of those commercial projects to come in to raise the tax base. Is that something that we discuss, or?
We generally don't talk about that at the budget retreat, but what I will say, the opportunity for that to be part of the discussion is when we do the strategic plan discussion and talking about some of our priorities there.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from the board? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bobby. Director Fitz, thank you. Clerk, are we ready for the ballots now?
Yes, we are.
All right. We are going to go back up to new business nonprofit grant application, and we are going to now do this in the ballot form. So, Mr. Clerk will pass out ballots to the board and give us directions on how we will do this. What?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're going to try to break this up into two sections, kind of like we did a few months ago with Planning Board and Sustainability Board. I'm going to hand you a ballot. The first one we're going to vote on are the $5,000 recipients. When you see your form, it'll be highlighted in green those applicants that have submitted for the $5,000 award. If you will, pick two.
Yes, two of them. Roar.
Do y'all have two? Yeah, it's over here.
Oh, this is Adam's. Is that it? Are we going by name?
Yep. So if you'll pick two, when you're done, please sign the back of the ballot. When I collect them up, I'll read how you voted and what our tally result is.
If the audience would like me to sing while the board is doing it. Just kidding.
Name on there as well.
Each one has it. Each one.
Name is on it?
Already covered.
Thanks. It's like taking the SATs in here. What answer?
Thank you, sir. Dan, while we're doing that, I got a quick question for you. Now, I see the Boys and Girls Club is on there. What we had last time, if they do get selected, the money went to a general pot. Can we specify where it goes to the Boys and Girls Club in the town of Zebulon? How does that work? I know we can't control their funding, but what can we do here if they are selected?
That's probably a discussion we could have with the Boys and Girls Club if they are selected as part of the contract, if there's specific uses that the board would like to see.
Or a
Would
specific
that be a question that we would
designation.
ask for every organization, period, of how we designate those?
I don't know.
We should be
That
mindful
would
of
be
not
a question.
dictating
To the
exactly
pot.
how they use the money, but I think if there's specific request of we'd love to see this money used in this way, I think that's an appropriate conversation to have when we're discussing contracts.
All right, thank you.
You saying that you wouldn't recommend us designating those funds specifically for the Zebulon Club?
Condition, I mean, I think if you select them as we would like them to get the funds, I think that, again, I think that's part of the contract that we would enter in with them. If the board does select them and has specific uses they would like to see, I think it'd be appropriate to let Katie know so that when we're discussing contracts with them, we can let them know that.
Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Clerk, could you please read the results from the ballots, please?
I can. I'll read through and announce how individual members voted, and then I'll share the totals at the end.
Thank you.
For Commissioner Roa, there was a vote for the East Wing Optimist Club and Creative Minds Micro School. For Commissioner Baxter, there was a vote for East Wake Optimist Club and Boys and Girls Club. I apologize for some of this sketchy mic work tonight.
It's okay.
Starting back over Commissioner Roa, his vote was for East Wake Optimist Club and Creative Minds Micro School. Commissioner Baxter, votes were for East Wake Optimist Club and Boys and Girls Club. Mayor Pro Tem Miles, his was for Creative Minds Micro School and Empowered Citizens. Commissioner Adams' votes were for Seed Community Foundation and Progressive Teamworks Outreach. And Commissioner Davis was for Boys and Girls Club and Empowered Citizens. With those votes, we have a four-way tie.
Oh. Of course we do.
That's the story of this board.
Of course we do.
So
All right.
I didn't prepare for multiple votes. So we're going to use the same ballots this time, if you guys would. We're only going to be looking at 4. East Wake Optimist Club, Boys and Girls Club, Creative Minds Micro School, and Empowered Citizens. Those are the 4 that had 2 votes each.
What was the first one you said?
East Wake Optimist Club,
Thank you, okay.
the others 2, Boys and Girls Club, Creative Minds Micro School, and Empowered Citizens.
You're ready for a long night.
No, no.
Yeah, that's how you gotta do it.
It was 3, right? So in the second row.
You should vote for the tiebreaker.
No. I don't. Well, and go ahead.
Yeah.
He said creative minds.
Yes, it did. And East Wake Optimist is what I said.
I gave y'all some suggestions.
Just to make this easy, if you don't mind, I've got yours, but if you put a number 2 on your second vote, I'll know the difference between your check A and check B.
Did you need me to do that? Okay.
He said put 2, you said? What did you say?
Number 2, yes, please.
How you spell that?
TOO.
Tables.
A real grasshopper.
We could, chat and say why and
Well, let's
bring
keep
me
it-
over to your side. or-
No, I like the way, what the deal is. We knew Optimus Feed. We know that. Wendy Watson does great things with the Empower Citizens. I did recently kind of like go there and see that firsthand, see those impacted youth there. Each one of them do their own thing. That's the thing about it. So it's just a matter of what that pressure is for each individual. For me, I'm looking at Creative Minds School. I've been out there, see what they do for our students here too as well.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of reads and been out to that organization and actually been in those classrooms. So I know what that is. So that's my reason for choosing those two, because I know the impact directly, what they're having in the community.
I just think the Boys and Girls Club is a corporation, and these other ones are local, little organizations. So that's what led me to pick. I had gone with you to feed the kids with that organization. I thought that was good, but that's separate from the Boys and Girls Club.
Correct.
And then I have been to Creative Minds, and I did think that was great.
So
Not to take anything away from everybody, but
Each one,
they're all good, and I think that's what my struggle is. I've been able to be a part of so many of these and been to a lot of their meetings, organizations, been a part. Boys and Girls Club is always going to be near and dear to my heart. I'm a Boys and Girls Club kid. My kids are. I get to go there every week and continue to participate with them. So love what they continue to do in the community. So just decided I wanted to continue to pour into them. Empowered Citizens, I have seen the continued great work and success that they pour into the community. So I know that it's a hard decision no matter what, because you feel like you're going to disappoint somebody, but you just got to choose what you feel is best.
Thank you. Any other comments? Jeremy is ready. Right, Mr. Clark?
Okay, in vote number 2, to break the four-way tie, Commissioner Adams voted for Boys and Girls Club and Creative Minds Micro School. Commissioner Roa voted for East Wake Optimist Club and Creative Minds Micro School. Commissioner Davis voted for Boys and Girls Club and Empowered Citizens. Commissioner Baxter voted for East Wake Optimist Club and Boys and Girls Club. And Mayor Pro Tem Miles voted for Creative Minds Micro School and Empowered Citizens. That is now leaving 2 with a vote of 3. So we have Boys and Girls Club with 3 votes, Creative Minds Micro School with 3 votes, and then both Empowered Citizens and East Wake Optimist Club with 2. So now we do have 2 highest vote getters. To repeat that, that's Boys and Girls Club with 3 votes and Creative Minds Micro School with 3 votes.
All right. Thank you.
we have the $5,000 winners in.
For, yes, Creative Minds and Boys and Girls Club.
Perfect.
Do we have the how Creative Minds scored in the rubric?
Can send it to you tomorrow, if that's okay.
Great, yeah, I would like to see.
I think at a total, what I have down here is 47.
It's in our notes. It's
Yeah,
in the
16 on average and 47 total points.
Any other questions, comments? You would need to do it again. Oh, round.
The other recipients? All right,
Let's do it.
Same basic process. This will be for the 5 $2,000 recipients. So I need you to pick 5. You'll be picking from those who are not highlighted green. And please put a number 1 in case we need a a tiebreaker.
With the non-green.
5-1 for who you want to get the $2,000 awards.
The non-green.
The non-green, yes, please.
All right, so thank you.
Well, I mean, technically, we could vote for green or non-green. Yeah,
You still can vote the seed and you still.
What did you say, Commissioner Baxter?
green or not, however
yeah,
it's
that's
highlighted.
true.
We can vote for whomever. Like,
Oh,
there's
that's fine.
no,
Yeah.
Mr. Clerk, could you please go over the directions again and please speak into the microphone?
Sure can. So this is for the $2,000 awards to 5 recipients. As we just clarified, you can vote for anybody on the form except the 2 we just gave the $5,000 awards to. Please put number 1s in 5 different spaces, so in case we need a tiebreaker.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Thank you for patience, Mayor.
That's both.
You move around.
I thought you were going to sing.
I can.
So beautiful.
Right, I'm not doing that. As we are waiting for the ballots to be tallied, I just want to take another opportunity to thank our amazing staff for an incredible joint effort meeting last night with the Eastern Wake County Local Government Association. Zebulon was the host last night for Knightdale, Wendell, Zebulon, and Roseville. And we were very proud to have our colleagues come into our community, very proud of the job that our staff did, and very grateful for the conversations and collaborations we were able to have last night as it related to Eastern Wake County. So kudos to our staff and special thanks to our board for engaging in good conversation last night. I thought it was really, really good. I mean, I feel like it was the best one we've had, but you know. A little bit. I'm a little biased.
I just think what made that one different, we were more interactive. That was the first time we got a chance as a board to actually do stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning to Manager Crosby. It was great to collaborate and to talk, amongst our colleagues. So thank you for that, for facilitating that. Trying to kill time, Jeremy.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes, ma'am.
she's not going to sing, so can you?
I would love to sing. Okay.
Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting there. Thank you, Zebulon, for your patience. We are excited and grateful that our board is taking time and consideration to put thought into awarding these grants to our local nonprofits that are doing great things in our community.
Organizations, instead of just 5, it would be kind of cool to give. It might be less funds, but we're giving opportunity to help more organizations. If there's not a budget increase in regarding the amount, I think I would like to have that conversation of what that looks like.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk?
Madam Mayor, we are ready for this one. To start off with the individual votes, Mayor Pro Tem Miles voted for Nightdale Wake Forest Education Foundation, Seed Community Foundation, American Legion Post 363, Zebulon Bearcats Youth Football, and Empowered Citizens. Commissioner Davis voted for Nightdale Wake Forest Education Foundation, Seed Community Foundation, American Legion Post 363, Zebulon Bearcats Youth Football, and Empowered Citizens. Commissioner Baxter voted for East Wake Optimist Club, Progressive Team Works Outreach, East Wake Education Foundation, Empowered Citizens, and Shiloh Temple Tabernacle of Prayer. Commissioner Adams voted for East Wake Optimist Club, Paradigm Sports Academy, Zebulon Bearcats Youth Football, Empowered Citizens, and Bridging the Gap with Adoption. And Commissioner Roa voted for East Wake Optimist Club, American Legion Post 363, Preservation Zebulon, Zebulon Bearcats Youth Football, and East Wake Education Foundation. The result of all those votes, we have 2 organizations that got 4 votes apiece, Empowered Citizens and Zebulon Bearcats Youth Football. We had 2 organizations that got 3 votes apiece, which is the American Legion Post 363 and East Wake Optimist Club. And then finally, we had a 3-way tie for 2 votes each for Nightdale Wake Forest Education Foundation, Seed Community Foundation, and East Wake Education Foundation. So in order to identify a 5th recipient, we would need to have a tiebreaker for those 3 who got 2 votes each. Okay. So as I pass out your ballots again, just remember we're voting on Nightdale Wake Forest Education Foundation, Seed Community Foundation, or East Wake Education Foundation. And since we have 1 remaining spot, we would need just 1 vote. If you look at your form, if you haven't signed it, please do so.
Thank you, sir.
You know, we should have like some music,
Yeah, it tallies up and, yeah.
like, what's the name of that? It's like a game that the kids play in school. What is it called?
What's the one with the guy with Steve Harvey, where like the answer?
Family Feud.
Really? Family Feud? It might.
The person with the most votes is?
Right.
That was totally different. I was gonna start a Soul Train line.
It's just with the.
Soul Train line? But don't do that.
Ready? Mr. Clark?
All right, for the tiebreaker voting between Knightdale Wake Forest Education Foundation, Seed Community Foundation, and East Wake Education Foundation. Mayor Pro Tem Miles voted for Seed Community Foundation. Commissioner Baxter voted for East Wake Education Foundation. Commissioner Davis voted for Knightdale Wake Forest Education Foundation. Commissioner Roa voted for East Wake Education Foundation. Commissioner Adams voted for East Wake Education Foundation. The result is that East Wake Education Foundation got 3 votes, and the other 2, Seed Community and Knightdale Wake Forest, each got 1. So you have your 5th place.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Board. And so we are all set, Nicole? Yes. Manager Crosby, we're all set with those.
Can we
Is there any discussions or comments? Absolutely.
I just want to make sure that the people know that prior to those 3 people, that we really appreciate their participation. That means a lot to us.
I was gonna just thank the committee. Thank you for all you've done, and thank you for every organization that applied. This was, as you can see, not easy. So again, we are grateful for how many organizations continue to try to pour into the town of Zebulon. Thank you, or do pour into the town of Zebulon.
As a reminder, Board, something is happening with mics tonight, so when we talk, just make sure that y'all are putting them up. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Board, for getting that taken care of. And now, we are going to move down to new business A, downtown master plan, small area plans. Is Manager Crosby?
Where is it in the packet? Okay, thanks. All right, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about small area plans and downtown master planning. Just as an overview of the purpose of these plans, it's really about aligning our planning, economic development, capital investment, and strategic growth strategy, and positioning the community for intentional long-term investment. This matters because of our growth. As you know, I think if we don't do anything else, we have about 5,000 properties approved, or we'll have an additional 5,000 residents in addition to our 14 in the next 5 years. And so we want to make sure that we are growing smart and that we have amenities in our community for the residents that live here. What we want to also do is make sure that the town is positioned to grow in an intentional way and not reacting to the growth. And so doing a small area plan and a downtown master plan allows us to be able to do that. So the opportunity in front of us is, as you know, we're a part of the Triangle region, but in addition to that, we had an opportunity to visit Nash County, and one of the things that they communicated to us is that they really look to Zebulon as a community that they market when they have new businesses come into the community. So we really have a lot of opportunity to partner both with the Triangle region, but also with our neighboring counties to attract both residents and businesses. We also have major employers. A few weeks ago, we had an opportunity to meet with GSK, and they talked to us about their supplier needs and how our community and the town can support helping to attract small businesses that can support their supplier needs. We're planning to do the same with our other companies in the region, and so we want to make sure that we're positioned to be able to both attract businesses as well as new residents. Our access to the highway and then development properties is also a great resource for us and also a big win for us. And so we also have continued residential growth and development interests that allows us to be very intentional about how we grow. So strategic growth goals are to balance the local economy, support strong residential neighborhoods and quality amenities, expand local employment opportunities, encourage retail, dining, and service businesses, and strengthen community gathering spaces and identity. The role of economic development and planning in this process is really about establishing where and how we grow, attracting economic development investment and supporting businesses, and then guiding strategic investment decisions and coordinating predictability for residents and developers. So our strategic investment framework, so one of the things that we've done internally is started to form a small committee of department leaders to begin to make sure that we're coordinating across the organization how we make decisions about both planning and economic development. And so a small area plan as well as a downtown master plan really allows us to identify key economic centers, or what you would call economic development nodes, where there's opportunity for growth and investment. These areas functions as key areas for business and job growth, and each node has a different development potential and infrastructure needs. So if you think about these small area plans, it gives you an opportunity to identify a different flavor in different parts of community depending on what you want to attract there. So downtown may be historic investment, another place may be an arts and culture center. It's really about looking at what the infrastructure needs and what the possibilities are. And planning helps to ensure that these new developments fit both in character and in the need of each area. So why identify economic development nodes? First, it focuses our infrastructure and planning resources strategically. It encourages compatible land use, encourages businesses that work well together to locate in the same areas, improves walkability and access to amenities, provides clear direction for developers and investors, and avoids scattered or uncoordinated development patterns. So we have 5 areas of focus. 2 of them are areas where we have primary business owners, so the 5-county stadium, where we have CBC, and then the Triangle East Business Park. So those 2 areas are really about building relationships and identifying how we can partner with them to attract economic development. The other 3 areas, downtown, which we talk quite a bit about, Wakefield, which is by the Sheets and the Waffle House, and then the West Gannon Commercial District, are our opportunities for us to really identify what we want the character of those communities to look like and what type of businesses we want to attract there. So what is a small area plan and a downtown master plan? They're detailed plans focused on a specific part of the community. They provide guidance on land use and development patterns, address transportation, public space, and amenities, aligns future development with community goals, and they translate the comprehensive plan into actionable direction. Why should we do a small area and downtown master plan? It's to provide clarity and predictability for developers, infrastructure and investments with development goals, guide redevelopment and reinvestment opportunities, protect community character while supporting growth, and shift the town from reactive to proactive planning. The downtown master plan, it allows downtown to remain historic and a center of the community. It serves as a focal point for local business activity, an opportunity to build strength, to strengthen the town's identity. If you go into any community, when you look at its downtown, it really tells you a lot about what that community is about and what that community has to offer. So by focusing on a downtown master plan that really builds the character of downtown, it helps to predict what other things come into that community. It's a planning guide for redevelopment and investment, supports business mix, streetscape improvements in public spaces, and helps to determine the types of businesses that should be encouraged downtown. Why planning before policy matters? Downtown and other areas receive individual requests, and when you get those individual requests, if you don't make decisions collectively and working towards a North Star, then you can create one-time unintentional conflicts. And the comprehensive plan allows decisions to work together. So planning first ensures that our policies support our shared vision. So plan first, then policy. Planning establishes the vision, investments follow the plan, policies support the vision, and this approach prevents fragmented decision-making. So we've had a lot of conversation about some of the properties that we own downtown. So town-owned properties represent important long-term community assets, and the decisions should support the downtown vision and redevelopment strategy. So whatever we decide to do about those properties should really complement whatever the vision is that comes out of this downtown master plan. These properties can contribute to amenities, public spaces, and catalytic projects, and the evaluation should occur within the downtown master plan. Aligning infrastructure investment with growth. So one of the things that you'll hear me talk about when we get into our budget retreat is that we have a lot of capital and infrastructure needs, but we don't have a long-term capital plan to show where we should focus our attention and how we should sequence the capital investment. And so by having these small area plans and the downtown master plan, it allows us to take into account how we sequence those investments and how we align our resources to support making sure that we're growing those different areas based on what those plans tell us. So that includes transportation, utilities, public facilities, all aligning with the development areas. This infrastructure planning helps ensure development occurs in the right locations, and its coordinated investment reduces long-term costs for the town. So currently our downtown infrastructure investment has been nearly $1.5 million. A lot of that has been through permit-based completed projects, paving, engineering, planters replacement, and then public and police work support. And then some of that investment has been supported by our Downtown Development Association, and that also includes streetlight uplift, drinking fountain installations that are coming, and then also continued planter replacements are coming as well. I just talked a little bit about the comprehensive capital improvement planning. So one of the things that will be in our budget request next year is really about the capital improvement plan for 2027. The CIP will align infrastructure investments with strategic growth areas. It'll support transportation, utilities, parks, and public facilities. It'll help prioritize our investments that support economic development nodes or those key areas of focus, and then also help with our long-term planning. So as we think about how we want to invest in our capital, it'll allow us to again, sequence that investment when we're doing our budget planning, and it also will give us some guidance on how we talk to our community if we ever should have to go out for a bond or something like that. Fiscal benefits of strategic growth. Both it helps to strengthen our town's commercial tax base. So we talked a little bit earlier about budget and our need to really focus on how do we bring new businesses in the community to increase our revenue. It reduces infrastructure costs caused by scattered development, improves the return on public infrastructure investment, and supports long-term fiscal sustainability. Economic development strengthens well, I talked a little bit about this. I think I have this slide in here twice. And then earlier I talked a little bit about reactive growth versus strategic growth. So that gives us an opportunity to really look at the assets that we have in our community and how can we be intentional about what we do with those assets. It really helps us to prioritize the areas that we want to see growth and investment, increase our long-term tax value, and coordinate our infrastructure so that it reduces service delivery cost. So how we plan to fund the downtown master plan and these small area plans. We do have a grant from HUD for $700,000 that includes both the downtown master plan and some other revitalization efforts for downtown. And so we're coordinating with them to begin to work on making sure that we can use those funds for the downtown master plan. And then we do have some salary and programmatic cost savings that we're redirecting for the small area plans. We have a contingency in the event that because of some of the changes with HUD, if we're not able to move those funds fast enough, we do have a contingency to support the downtown master plan. So next steps, after this conversation with the board, we would release an RFP to identify a consultant for the small area plans, budget amendment to come in the April board meeting to cover the cost, continue downtown business support initiatives, continue to leverage regional economic partnerships, and then prepare for the launch of Launch Zebulon in fall 2026, and be really intentional about the types of businesses that we want to attract into Launch Zebulon. So we actually have a meeting coming up with Wake Tech, and one of the things that I plan to talk to them about is how we can be intentional about the businesses that we attract for the program. So those are our planned next steps after receiving feedback from the board. So we're in a period of opportunity. Strategic planning can guide how the community grows. And just as a point, this strategic planning is about the master plan is separate from the other strategic planning conversation we're going to have later. But intentional investment supports business and residents, and the goal is long-term economic vitality and community identity. So I'll take any questions.
All right, thank you, Manager Crosby. Are there any questions or discussions from the board? Mayor Pro Tem?
No, not this moment.
Yes.
No, not questions, just, I'm excited because this, to me, is a presentation that's long overdue, waiting to give us a guidance of getting us more centered focus on, like you said, the businesses that the type of business that we're going to attract in certain areas. So I think this is going to move us forward in a great direction. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baxter? You all good? Commissioner Adams?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Rolla?
No, ma'am.
All good? Thank you. All right.
So
No, go.
this is a good segue into some of the discussions that we've had with the board about social district, food trucks, the building code, and parking. And so what I've asked Matt to do, instead of just coming and talking about each of those individually, is to do a comprehensive presentation about downtown, about what we're seeing downtown, why the downtown master plan is important. So that's why I wanted to do that presentation first. Give you some data points, and then give you some recommendations how to move forward with some of the,
You just flip your sign, your name tag.
Oh, sure.
I thought
Oh, yeah. I could be Bobby, too. Bobby's cool.
And then also talk a little bit about some of the existing ordinances we have, and then as well as a path forward with some of the recommendations related to the social district and food trucks. So I'll turn it over to Matt.
Sure, thank you. Am I close enough to the mic here? Is it okay? Get a little closer.
With Heather Louise comes out. Thank you.
Well, as Manager Crosby said, this presentation is really a holistic presentation about downtown, and it'll culminate in some recommendations about ordinances that we've either discussed in depth or perhaps just in passing that I think as a package achieve some of the board's immediate priorities around downtown and lay a foundation for the implementation of the master plan to come in at a higher level than it might otherwise be. This is the background for this presentation. There's an introductory section. We'll talk about existing activity downtown. We'll talk about some of the challenges that our downtown currently faces. A little more discussion about the long-term policy related to downtown. And then what is this ordinance package that we're recommending that the board consider tonight? Background, where are we now? Over the past several years, the town has accumulated definitions of where downtown is. And so sometimes this can get a little confusing. The Main Street boundary and the overlay are different than each other, and they're also different than the boundary that the old zoning code talked about where downtown was and was not. So for the purposes of this presentation, we're mostly going to talk about the Main Street boundary because this is the area in which we have the most comprehensive data set. This is due to the Main Street program's reporting requirements. And I'll do my best to clarify when we're talking about properties or parts of downtown that happen to be outside of this boundary, where we just don't have as comprehensive of a data set as we do for the Main Street boundary. Some very important context is that starting in 2022, over the course of 3 years, downtown Zebulon lost its 3 largest businesses, Willie Galleries, Debham Hardware, and Gay's Cleaners. We lost 2.2 acres of floor space downtown. And that, of that acreage that's in the Main Street boundary, that's 9.4% of the Main Street boundary's square footage. And that's a significant hit in any downtown. When you consider this against the backdrop of COVID and some of the other businesses that left downtown, this is a significant loss to the town. We also lost 25 jobs. Whitley Gallery had over an acre of additional space outside downtown that also became vacant when they closed. So the starting point is there's a significant amount of vacant space. How we've seen the market recover from COVID has been through destination retail. So we've seen some new bars and restaurants open, the distillery opened, there's a Pilates place, Zebulon General Store continues to be a staple downtown. And the convenience or boutique retail that the previous three large businesses downtown, the category that they would fall onto, what we have now is smaller footprint, or it's not locally owned. There's a range of uses in there that fall under those categories. And until recently, all three of those big spots sat vacant, but now it's just two, as Jerkins Furniture has moved in and brought legacy North Carolina furniture back to downtown Zebulon. So the activity today, I'm proud to say that downtown is becoming more vibrant, and I'll show you why. The list on the left are all of the projects that have either a zoning compliance permit, which means they've begun the building permit process, or they have a full building permit and they're moving to construction or through construction. There are 9 businesses. On the right side are other things that are happening in and around downtown that only strengthen what's happening in the Main Street boundary and strengthen the town as a whole. There's 5 building rehabilitations happening on West Vance Street amongst 3 parties. There are 58 infill homes that have been entitled and 19 infill homes that are going through the approval process. That's upwards of 200 people moving within walking distance of our downtown. The exciting part about this is that if all these projects complete their building permit, and I think it's likely that most, if not all, do, our vacancy rate, which is high, is 28%, falls in half, likely within the next 6 to 8 months. And this doesn't include some of the projects that we're helping scope that aren't part of the public record yet. So I would anticipate that this list, maybe 1 or 2 will fall off this list, and 1 or 2 or more will be added to this list over the next 6 to 8 months. So our very high vacancy rate is falling. Why is it falling? Well, there's a general resurgence of investment in Wake County, in Eastern Wake County, and in Eastern North Carolina in general. Some of the stuff we saw in Nash County the other day was impressive. We're part of that ecosystem. So there's a lot of regional growth, both organic absorption, solely because of the housing approvals, but also the promotional work that the town does with both potential and new businesses. The planning department has taken a position that we don't let perfect get in the way of progress, and that's driven a lot of the administrative approvals that have been able to advance through downtown. The recent housing approvals that the board has approved over the past 2 years have shown the market that Zebulon is investable. And we're seeing that now in what we call market-proving projects on the commercial side. Those are things like 7-Eleven, Cookout, the reinvestment of Sheetz, the Universal Chevy, the new ownership of the Chevy dealer, as well as what's really a large first-to-market project in Zebulon Gateway. These are signals to the larger investment community that Zebulon is open for business, and that is reflected also in this resurgence of building permits downtown. And this is something we say a lot in the planning department, that we have created through basically staying true to the UDO, the ability for the town to now have choices, right? The town, if the board approves no more housing, the market can still see there'll be 6,000 more people coming to Zebulon over the next 5 to 10 years, and just recently approved construction, and there are choices now when it comes to thinking about commercial investment and things like that. It's also important to impact or point out, I should say, the recent impact of the Main Street program. There's a variety of aesthetic improvements that the Main Street program has implemented. But additionally, since 2024, 7% of the building value downtown has been invested. A lot of this is attributed to the Main Street program and to the fact that Main Street businesses, because development downtown can be difficult, people are on top of each other, there's odd property lines. Having a Main Street program, having a downtown liaison that helps manage this and has created progress. We've had 8 new business openings since 2024. Think about what the vacancy rate was in 2024. If we started with 8 more vacancies than we have now, that 7% of current building value is $1.3 million. And there's been 7 facade grants that have been issued, and the total investment in facades downtown is $50,000, which doesn't seem like a lot, but for a small storefront improvement, that's a significant amount of money over seven projects. Another thing that's starting to happen that we are excited about is this energy is creating some organic collaboration. This is just one example. I know there are more. This is just the most tangible one that I've seen recently, where Norris Longhouse now has a menu for patrons at the fall line. And so we love to see businesses collaborate, especially businesses that sometimes offer similar products, right? Downtown is all about a rising tide lifting all boats. There are many examples of this, so if there are other ones, I'd be happy to highlight those as well. So based on NAICS code, which is how we classify building types, this is the current fabric for downtown, 28% vacant, and the next highest would be food and beverage, professional services, and fitness, which is put under the same category, and personal services and fitness, and then professional services. If all the projects that are currently within the building permit process are completed, vacancy rate falls to 15%, and it will no longer be the highest use downtown. 15% is still rather high. We'd love it to be somewhere between 5 and 7, but the trends are incredibly positive, I think, for downtown Zebulon. But that's notwithstanding that there are still some challenges in downtown, and the downtown master plan and some of the ordinance updates we're going to talk about today should help address some of these challenges. And I've ordered these in the planning director's opinion of most immediate challenge to the longest term challenge. This is, y'all may disagree, and I'm more than happy to adjust this in future presentations as the board continues to scope downtown. In my view, the most immediate issue downtown is the conditions of some of the buildings. There are currently 3 buildings that don't have roofs. This is our primary code enforcement, building enforcement focus. Each of these are in different phases of enforcement, and there's a variety of variables because of this. You know, some have active or inactive building permits. Some do or don't meet minimum building standards. This type of code enforcement is, it's not like pulling somebody over and giving them a ticket. It's lengthy, there's important due process considerations, and progress occurs, but it doesn't occur immediately. So to me, this is the most immediate issue. The second most immediate issue, although I would consider this a good problem, although a problem that needs to be solved still, is trash. Trash downtown currently is managed by individual businesses, and they all have created a solution that works for them, which is great, except in downtown, everybody is right next to each other, literally sharing walls. So an unmanaged or business-by-business trash solution, it can take away from parking, it can slow alley activation, and it does lead to unpleasant smells where people stand, where people walk around. But again, this is a good problem because it's indicative that there are people downtown spending money and buying things, and they need somewhere to put their trash. And so this is another issue that I look forward to working through with the town on. A third issue is parking. There's a perception among some that there's not enough parking in general, that there's not enough churn of prime spots, and handicap spots aren't ideally placed. Additionally, employees of some downtown businesses may and do park in what other businesses may perceive as prime spaces, which I think informs this perception. This is something that the master plan will be able to work through in time. There are also 2 dormant ordinances in the general code that have not been enforced, at least since I've been the planning director, and likely much longer back in past. The first one is the vacant building registry. This is an ordinance that would require the town to go compel building owners to register their vacant buildings and then provide a vacancy management plan under financial penalty. The second is the parking ordinance. The town of Zebulon does actually have legally 2-hour parking downtown, with some areas 30 or 12 minutes, but the ordinance is not enforceable until this is signed. And so we'll talk a little bit later about what it would take to bring this ordinance back into a state where we could enforce it. When thinking about downtowns, investors think about, or they consider both actual crime data and the perception of crime, and so do we when we think about how we allocate and maximize public funds for downtown. I want to be clear that downtown is not unsafe by any measure, but when our metrics are compared by other communities, we have some work to do. And this improvement will help not only better sustain investment, but it'll also help us compete with peer communities that with investors that have choices, and we want to compete with the best in Wake County and beyond. The longest term challenge is the state-owned Main Street. This is a larger discussion because there are both positives and negatives to Main Street being owned by the state. Some of the positives, or probably the biggest positive, is that the town isn't on the hook for much of the maintenance. And it also moves a lot of traffic through downtown because it's a truck route, and businesses look at traffic count when they make decisions about where they're going to locate. The negatives are probably clear to everybody in this room. We have limited design control over Arundel, and lots of traffic is simply just not ideal for a pedestrian environment downtown. I want to also point out that pedestrianizing Arundel in the future will require a bypass, some other way to move Johnson County traffic directly from 64 to 264. So thinking about all of the positive trends downtown and some of the challenges, Manager Crosby has put together a strategic investment team to think through how do we elevate the successes and solve for the challenges. And she just spoke about a downtown master plan. We'll have a variety of key outcomes for downtown. Not only will it be a physical plan, and it may address things like parking and trash, and a framework for working with the DOT, but it'll also address the opportunities that we have with publicly owned properties downtown. These are redevelopment in downtown at scale is expensive because there's maybe a demolition component, but there's a due diligence component that's different than just building out in the greenfield. So across the country, a model that's been working is the local governments are part of a partnership that can bring these products to market. Typically, it's last in funding or it's additional help in one way or the other. I would define a public-private partnership as one in which every partner has some degree of risk. Another way to talk about public-private partnerships is alternative finance models, because a development project in which the town has risk is not just one way to finance a project in an alternative manner. There is, in North Carolina, we have what's called a synthetic tax increment financing district, and there's some other tools. And so that's something that Aaron, who's here today, our news planner, has been putting together a series of memos of research on some of these tools and how they apply to North Carolina, and we'll be able to present those at a later date.
Matt, is that tool similar to a municipal service district?
It's not, no.
Okay,
no.
all right.
Yep. No. If you like race cars, this is a race car analogy. There are a couple different racing leagues that have the steering wheel has a button called push to pass. So you get a little extra horsepower, but you're already going pretty fast. And I thought that this was an apt analogy because of the trends downtown. What are some things we can do now to push to pass while we're working on the planning documents that will farther bolster downtown and sustain its success? There are 4 of them. The first one is staff is prepared to bring a revised food truck proposal back through the public hearing process. This revised proposal is based off of feedback we've received from the board, feedback we've received from the public, and our technical knowledge in an attempt to balance both what is clearly the desire for flexibility and a support for food trucks with some public concerns about noise and safety during daytime office and shopping hours. I'll just read it very briefly. Businesses may sponsor food trucks in the manner that they have been allowed to in the past. They can reserve up to 2 spaces per truck in front of the sponsor business, but at these limited times, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's a 2-hour advance space registration. The town will provide materials in which those spaces will be preserved. The businesses that choose to pull a food truck permit to sponsor food trucks will need to submit a monthly schedule and a space selection guide to the planning department for both our approval and then for code enforcement purposes. And then this would not be allowed to occur when there are any town events downtown. And so we're prepared to bring this proposal back, and we'll talk a little bit about timeline in a couple slides. The second one is parking ordinance. We are recommending that the town consider bringing back to life the 2-hour parking ordinance downtown from 8 to 5 on weekdays. This would require some minor amendments to the way that the text is currently written. But our thinking is that best practice would be to apply this to the 1 to 300 block of North Arundel and the 100 block both east and west on Vance, Horton, and Sycamore. We can also write in the allowance for food trucks into the parking ordinance, into the general code. This will have some higher costs to the town. We'll have to order and install signage. We'll need to develop an enforcement plan, which may include outsourcing enforcement to a private party. And then there are residents within this boundary, and we would need to issue passes for homeowners in that boundary as well. So a consideration regarding parking. The third is the vacant building registry. And I've broken this one down because it's a little more complicated than the other two. So the town currently takes an informal and collaborative approach to achieving the intent of this ordinance. We have coming soon banners. I know that the Main Street Group has ordered some more. In code enforcement, if you're bringing a code from being dormant to enforceable, you can't pick and choose. It's all or nothing. And if you don't choose to bring it out of dormancy, best practice is to work to achieve the intent of the ordinance in a collaborative way, and not in a way that's punitive or not in a way that would result in somebody getting fined. We could enforce this ordinance as written. The bones are there to do it. There's a couple important things to note. This would be a major shift in town policy. This is not something the staff is comfortable just doing. We would need direction from the elected officials. It is a strong arm approach, and that brings a different set of risks. You will see the ordinance be implemented, but you're trading the appearance of vacancy neglect for a different set of legal reputational risks. And this is something the board needs to weigh as they consider this proposal. One thing that also is written into the vacant building ordinance is that this applies to all non-residential properties on the DTP and the DTC. It's not just the ones within the Main Street boundary. So it's a 36-block radius in which this ordinance will be enforced. This is a challenge because that's significant staff time. It's effectively a part-time job if we did this right now. Our capacity is simply just not scaled to this. If we did this today, what would need to happen is I would have to write, and then Dan would have to weigh in and eventually endorse an administrative interpretation on how the vacancy management plan requirements will be implemented. Then we would go out and ticket all the businesses or all the business owners or building owners that fall under this ordinance. And there are, given that there's 19 vacancies downtown right now, there's at least 19. That would be additional site plan reviews that we would be put on a 30-day shot clock to review and process, and they would all be submitted at once. The last challenge is enforcement of this is going to be difficult. Failure to comply is written into the code as either a misdemeanor in some cases or a civil penalty of $500 a day in another, depending on the violation. I list this because this is a significant lift, but there are two options here. If the board, if the will of the board is moving forward and bringing this out of dormancy, we could consider contracting out the service. That would have a cost to it. But another idea is that we may have the ability to do this in-house in fiscal year 27, or perhaps 6 months into it on a 6-month budget adjustment, depending on how the declining vacancy continues to trend. So this is just some information here on bringing to life an ordinance that is in the code, but that's sat dormant since it was adopted by the board, and what this would take to do. Finally, social districts. We've been doing some door-to-door outreach with the businesses downtown. It's been a lot of fun. We are moving forward towards an adoption hearing in June. Door-to-door business outreach started the 19th. My staff has been to every business that's open between 8 and 5. I mean, I got a list, and I can show you if you want, offline. And now we're working on outreach to the businesses that weren't open, and then also to each of the building owners in the Main Street boundary as well. We've gotten great feedback. A lot of it has been supportive. Some of it has been questioning of the concept, but none of it has been a full stop no. The questioning of the concept relates to what most, I would think most initial concerns about a social district would be, which is just open containers on the street. And so the manager has asked if we could invite alcoholic law enforcement to come talk a little bit about social districts countywide, and some of the positive things they've seen and some of the concerns that they've seen. And so Assistant Chief Eric McMillan
I'm
is here.
sorry, Matt.
Yep.
Before you introduce the Wake County, if you all do not mind, we are going to take a 5-minute recess and come right back, and then we will hear from them. 5-minute recess.
Okay.
That's my signal to Heather Louise to turn the mics back on. Are you? Sorry. My apologies. All right, thank you so much. We are reconvening, and now Director Lauer, please. Sorry about that. Thank you so much.
Let's go back one slide here. Assistant Chief.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric McLeod. I'm the Assistant Chief of Wake County ABC Law Enforcement. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today regarding the consideration of establishing a social district. A social district, by definition, is designed as a walkable area where individuals can purchase alcoholic beverages from inside permitted establishments and carry them within clear, defined boundaries during specific times. The intent behind this district is to increase economic activity, encourage foot traffic, and create more vibrant downtown environment. However, it is important to clearly understand not only what a social district is, but what also it is not. A social district is not a free-for-all. It does not allow the unrestricted drinking anywhere at any time. It is not intended to encourage individuals to gather in public spaces solely to consume alcohol. Alcohol must be purchased from permitted businesses, consumed within designated boundaries, and only during approved hours, typically around noon to 9 p.m. across North Carolina. It is not designed for bar hopping at 1 a.m. in the morning. With that said, there are several public safety and enforcement concerns that should be carefully considered. First, blurred responsibility. Social districts create gray areas when it comes to accountability. If an individual becomes intoxicated and is later injured or involved in a serious incident, questions arise as to whether responsibility falls on the establishment that served the alcohol or the municipality that created and manages the district. Second, it becomes significantly harder to monitor intoxication levels when individuals move freely between establishments and public spaces. It is also difficult to track how much alcohol has been consumed. Someone may appear sober at the door of one location while already have consumed alcohol elsewhere. Additionally, once drinks leave a business, it becomes hard to determine who actually purchased the beverage and who is consuming it. Third, increasingly disordered behavior. Open container environments often lead to more fights, public intoxication, public urination, and disturbances, particularly during later hours. This is why, on average, social district hours end at 9 p.m. Fourth, more calls for service for law enforcement, EMS, and fire service should expect an increase in calls related to assaults, intoxicated individuals, and general disturbances tied to alcohol use. Fifth, more difficult IDing enforcement. Once alcohol is outside of a permitted business, it becomes easier for drinks to be passed to underage individuals with little to no direct monitoring. Six, roadway and pedestrian safety concerns. Intoxicated individuals are more likely to ignore traffic signals, cross outside designated areas, and place themselves and others at risk. Additionally, crowds gathering in the streets and sidewalks can obstruct access for emergency vehicles. And finally, issues with trash and litter. Without proper planning and infrastructure, social districts can lead to an increase in littering and public cleanliness concerns. If a social district is implemented, strong safeguards will be critical. This includes clearly marked boundaries, visible signage, the use of designated cups, defined operating hours, preferably noon to 9 p.m., and a coordinated enforcement strategy. In closing, while social districts can provide economic benefit, they also introduce very real public safety challenges. It is important that any decision made carefully balances economic development with safety of the community, the burden of emergency services, and the ability to effectively enforce existing laws. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions about social districts.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the board? Commissioner Roa? Commissioner Adams? Commissioner Baxter? Commissioner Davis?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I do. You're speaking all the information you're given. Have you been to other municipalities, i.e. Wendell, Raleigh, of those that have that social district already?
Durham.
Durham as well. Did you go and do a presentation to those guys as well?
I haven't, no, sir.
Okay.
But I've been to all the social districts in Wake County.
What is some of the positive? I heard the economic aspect. I heard more the negative connotation to it. Is there anything positive that you can see in your capacity, your professional expertise?
I would say the positive would be, if you go have lunch somewhere, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you want to go walk down the sidewalk and go to a business and go buy clothing or something like that, you have the ability to do that while still carrying alcohol. And that's the biggest con that I see when it comes to allowing people to move freely in a downtown space, so they can do that. It's not, it's not designed at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning to go bar to bar to bar, because I'm sure, like everybody else's parents here, and they told you nothing good happens after 9 o'clock. And we see that a lot in downtown Raleigh. That's where most of our enforcement is done, within the social district in the mainstream of downtown Raleigh. But it's also important to know that the social district in downtown Raleigh doesn't even include the Glenwood South area. So the area that is most busy, they have removed, that has never been in the social district. It's in the area where the retail shops are at, where the restaurants are at, where food can be consumed, and things of that nature.
Well, in talking to Raleigh, I know they did that because it's more of a college town, so they didn't want
Correct.
college kids. So we're definitely not a college town. We're not there where the college kids are coming in and drinking alcohol. And I don't want us to base this off one-offs, just because somebody, as you stated, urinated in the streets, or the what ifs. I want us to look at it in a perspective where how it pertains to the town of Zebulon. So it sounds like some of the information you're giving is based off these bigger municipalities, Raleigh, Durham, those places like that. So I just want to make sure that we keep that in mind, that when we decide that, we based off what Zebulon has to offer.
Commissioner Miles, or Mayor Pro Tem Miles, I want to let Matt finish, because while you heard that, I think you're going to hear some things that align with what you
Sure.
want to hear.
I mean, what you said is 100% true, right? Each community is unique. One thing that makes Zebulon unique is we're preparing to present a social district proposal to the board, which we're working through that process and remains on time. We study other social districts, and we have a set of communities that we've studied. None of them are big cities. The memo's on my desk, but Burlington's the biggest ones. Burlington, Mebane, Apex, Fuquay, Wake Forest, and Oxford. There are a couple other communities that are about our size in this area that have social districts, but the makeup of the district is not like our makeup of the district in the sense that they have one establishment that serves alcohol. I think Smithfield has 2 and Selma has 1. So we've cast a net regionally to look at places that are similar in population to us or have similar sized downtowns and also have a social district. And one thing that became clear is that of the communities that we've studied, there are 4 bars in those areas that are open past midnight. And in Zebulon, we have 4 ourselves. And so as we think about how do we scope this proposal to something that maximizes public benefit, staff felt that it was important that we bring in a variety of different community members to talk. And the alcoholic law enforcement, which is part of the law enforcement ecosystem in North Carolina, is, I think, an important partner in making sure that when we bring the social district to the board, that the board has all of the information that they need to make the right decision for Zebulon. And I would just reiterate that we've looked at a variety of communities. There's a memo that I'm more than happy to send back to the board on how we've reached the conclusion about moving forward. And I would like to go back to end on this has been a positive experience working downtown with the businesses. Again, I'll reiterate too that we've never talked to anybody that has said we don't like the concept. We've got some questioning of it for sure, but there was never any hard nose, there was never any terse exchanges. It's about scoping this as right for Zebulon, and we are in a unique situation given the opening hours of our establishments that serve alcohol versus the rest of our peer communities. So we just want to make sure that this is managed in a way that the social district can persist in time.
Any more questions or comments from the board, Mayor Pro Tem?
So eventually, you're going to bring something to us, Matt. Do you have
Yes,
a
sir.
timeline for that? I know initially when we've been working on this for a while. I think initially you talked about 6-month implementation. Has that changed? And if so, what does that look like?
No, sir, that has not changed. It could be as early as May, which would be a little less than 5 months when we first decided to pursue this.
Okay.
But yeah, by June, the board will have a full proposal to evaluate, to shape, and to make a decision on.
Okay.
Yep.
So if I could ask Matt to go back through the other, so there's 4 policies. It's the social district, food truck, building code, and parking. So we're on track with the social district with the plan for the hearing in June and possibly earlier in May. But I also want to make sure that when we're looking at, thank you, I'm sorry. When you're looking at the totality of the policies, that our recommendation is that all of these come together.
Sure. Staff's recommendation, I'm going to do these slides actually in inverse order. This is the timeline. This is the most aggressive timeline for these 4 items to be to become alive. Food truck ordinance could be adopted as soon as April 13th. The board would have to convene a special meeting after the planning board meeting, but this is actually allowed by ordinance. It's in the ordinance. Enforcement and rolling this out could start immediately thereafter. Same thing with parking. The earliest that this could be enrolled is April 13th at that same special called meeting after the planning board meeting. We could start enforcing parking as early as June in this situation because we'll need to order signage and develop an enforcement plan and things like that. Social district, as I just mentioned, is on track for a June adoption. And the vacant building registry, if this is something the board would like to consider, we would like to discuss how we're going to fund managing this in the next budget. And potentially by August, this could be up and running. So some recommendations around these, though, because none of these exist in a vacuum. They all need each other. Don't revive one dormant ordinance without reviving the other. There's significant equity and due process concerns if we pick and choose what dormant ordinances just start applying to businesses, particularly businesses in one area. The second is that enact the food truck language and amend or revive the parking ordinance first. Do it at the same time because they talk to each other, and we can write the food truck ordinance into the parking ordinance. We will require a budget for signage and increase enforcement. The third thing, though, is we would encourage, if it's the will of the board to move forward quickly within the next 2 weeks, if it's not the will of the board to move forward quickly, but they would still like to move forward, host 2 or 3 roundtables with the downtown businesses. Staff is happy to put these together if you so desire, so we can continue to scope these proposals so they're best for Zebulon and for the businesses downtown. So again, timeline could be as soon as April 13th for 2 of them. Social district is on track, and vacant building registry, early fiscal year 27, should that be the will of the board. I think this is the most aggressive timeline for each of these items. And so we've had some discussion. I'm happy to have some more discussion and look forward to direction on next steps.
Thank you.
And one thing I would like to add is that from a staff perspective, we do see, social districts as a positive economic driver. So I don't want you to think that the goal of this is to discourage it. It's really just to provide information so that you all have all the information you need to make a decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Matt. We are now going to, any other questions, comments from the board? Mayor Pro Tem?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm definitely looking forward to this. I had the opportunity to speak with the town of Wendell yesterday at our event, and they have adopted this, and it has been a great success. Did some research for the city of Durham, and it was a great success as well, not just for the town, but for their businesses.
Davis.
So I think this is going to be a very positive, I think this will be a very positive thing for our town, so just looking forward to hearing more highlights. Mayor Pro Tem brought up the fact that we were looking at municipalities that were much larger than ours, which I know that is the city of Durham. But again, just knowing that Wendell has been able to adopt theirs and it's been extremely successful. I believe theirs runs until past 10 o'clock. And then they have made special ordinance for holidays, i.e. New Year's Eve is one, and I can't remember what the other one is. So definitely something to look into since that's our neighboring municipality.
That's correct. I believe Wendell is 10, and they do have, sometimes they turn it on other times, I think, for special events.
That's what I was told. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioner Baxter?
Yes, I'd like to make sure that we have an inventory of our current retail establishments, where they're located, and how they might benefit from the social district.
Commissioner Adams? Commissioner Roa? Manager Crosby, I did send an email to you asking for some kind of report or just comprehensive list of any alcohol-related offenses or crimes that have happened in our downtown within the last year, just so that the board has that. If you could send that to the entire board so that we can have that as we continue talking about this.
Sure.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, is it the will of the board to move forward with those two ordinances? The only reason we're asking is if you would like to hear it on April 13th, we have to notice it by Tuesday next week.
What is the will of the board? Which, these two? Oh, you had stepped out.
Yeah, so Commissioner Miles has stepped out. I'll run through quickly for him. This is the most aggressive timeline that we feel these items can be implemented. The food truck and parking ordinance revisions that we have discussed, those can be presented to the board at a joint public hearing on April 13th. Our ordinance it does not have a cooling off period between the planning board meeting and the board. So you could approve both of these ordinances at a special meeting after the planning board meeting on the 13th. That's simply the most aggressive timeline, and if time is of a concern to the board. Social district remains on time for a June adoption or potentially earlier. And the vacant building registry, given how complicated enforcing it will be, this is a fiscal year 27 budget item in our view. Also, just for everybody's benefit, one additional time, we have a couple recommendations about process. Don't revive one dormant ordinance without reviving the other. Do both or none. Enact the food truck language and the parking ordinance at the same time. And no matter if you choose to go through the most aggressive timeline or something else, host some roundtables with the downtown businesses to make sure that the proposal they're working towards is scoped for Zebulon.
Thank you. And so now, Director Lauer, you need direction from the board on ordinances. What would be the will of the board? Commissioner Roa, Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm sorry, say it again?
The will of the board, how do we want to move forward how do we want to direct staff to move forward with the ordinances?
You asking me my stance on it?
I'm asking everybody.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Baxter?
Yes, I would be fine going through the joint public hearing process, but then having more discussion and possible adoption at our April work session.
Commissioner Adams? You a minute? You want me to give you a minute?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we don't move forward now, Matt, that would take you, put everything on pause for you, or what? Make sure I'm on kind of track with that.
We need to amend an ordinance in the town of Zebulon,
Gotcha.
be it in the general code or the UDO. We'll have to notice it publicly. And so we have, there's a 2 Friday requirement, and then the newspaper itself has a deadline to get it in. So for this to be heard on Monday, April 13th, we will need to get this to the newspaper by the end of day Tuesday next week.
Okay.
But that's not for the JPH, that's just if we meet
For
afterwards.
the JPH.
That's for the JPH.
The notice only is for the JPH. Once the joint public hearing is conducted, there's no additional noticing for an ordinance.
We can, as long as you're understanding that the June.
And so we
it'll
don't
happen in
have,
June, but then it won't-
besides this,
it
we
won't
don't
be
have
right
anything
into August.
else on the schedule for a joint public
So
hearing.
you've missed your summer.
Okay.
That's my only concern.
I'm just Heather Louise wants us to speak into the microphones.
I think one of our things we were trying to, what's before us now, talking amongst the board, is that I think we're
Mayor Pro
trying
Tem.
to potentially moving it to the retreat. But if we do that, either way, we've missed pretty much this summer's deadline. Anything implementation won't be done until 2027, it sounds as if. Is that what I'm to take
That's
now?
what the
That's
June
just for
adoption-
that's just for the vacant building registry. That's a significant lift to build the scale to implement that. So that is in my opinion, the farthest out of the 4 options. The first 2 procedurally could be done April 13th.
And it's for FY '27, not calendar year '27. So that would, that would
Yep.
be this,
End of this year.
yeah.
So you would have food trucks and parking potentially ready to go.
Right.
Well, food trucks, April, parking as soon as June, social district, June, and then the vacant, August. And I think with the social district, the goal was to have it,
You wanted summer, we're
so
talking summer.
June would be, so right at the beginning of summer would be when
We
the
will have the
social
social
district.
district.
So by the time we,
Effect in June, not, you mentioned something about
Well,
August.
so the June adoption. So,
You
yeah.
said something about August.
It's for the vacant building.
That's what I need
Yep.
clarification on.
My question is that the food truck ordinance changed significantly since the last meeting, right? I think Mayor Pro Tem Miles wanted some on Van, some on Horton, and a grandfathered in, and now we have it there. They're just going anywhere where business wants to sponsor?
I can't administratively grandfather in temporary use permits.
Okay.
make it where there's a policy, we create a policy where those that are currently there, we can create that policy though. Am I correct on
The
that?
problem that, the only problem I see with having all of the businesses, let's say everyone does it at the same time, right?
Gotcha.
That's what they teach us in real estate. Everybody does it at the same time, it's going to be a nightmare getting through that street. It's gonna press, and then you have a logger coming through there, and it turns it into just a one lane, one way. So that's my only concern. That's why I was really supportive of anything we want to do with Vance and Horton. Great. Even if we could have managed the grandfathered in system because both those bars are on one side.
Gotcha.
But seeing the bigger picture, if we do enforce the parking thing and every 2 hours you have to move, I'm assuming there's some part of like no overnight parking in that ordinance, or is that?
I don't think there's no overnight parking. There's a limit when the enforcement ends, though.
Okay. So there's a limit, so then, you know, that's kind of, the only thing I would have you consider is the food trucks.
When we scoped this, we would love to put some finality on some of the discussions that we've had to provide a baseline for this next step. And when we scoped this, one thing that was, that staff felt was a really important directive from the board was the flexibility that the current system, which we can no longer implement, though gave the businesses. And so that informed this. The balance came from the fact that most of the concerns that we received from the community had to do with the safety concern that you brought up, but the other one was noise. These food trucks run generators. They need generators to power the kitchen appliances within them. And that noise during daytime hours when parked in front of a business that has no interest in having a food truck can be disruptive to the business. We've gotten some I wouldn't call them complaints, questions, or concerns about that. And so we, my job when it comes to ordinance updates is to, one, provide the board technical assistance, and then two, to be a steward of the public trust and the public process. And part of that is making sure that I always put something in front of you that is balanced amongst interest and be able to talk about those interests. It's the will of the board about how to further scope that for the future of Zebulon. My job is to make sure that you have something that's balanced and something that is defensible from a due process perspective.
My opinion would be to kind of follow Commissioner Baxter's timeline, where maybe we postpone this to the work session, to the retreat, where we can really kind of digest everything and come back with strong opinions on one way or another. And then, the town manager can let that process begin, where we have to give notice, and then it works out like that.
Is that going to put a strain on your staff at all, Matt, kind of like postponing that?
This timeline, we're prepared. I think Kate has prepared the notices, or we talked about putting them together. We're prepared to roll this out on the aggressive timeline if that's the will of the board.
I want to make sure I'm hearing correctly. So you're saying, don't do anything tonight, wait until the retreat. Is your question that if you all make a decision at the retreat, could we go on the 13th?
Sure, well, you won't be able to because it's the 10th.
Because of the
Well,
notice
what we
issue.
could do, we could notice it to be prepared to do it on the 13th. And if the will of the board is to not do it on the 13th, we can cancel the meeting. We'll just have to renotice it.
Okay, let's do it. Well, I'm good with that. That still gives us an option where if we want to move on 13th, we still got that option. That still gives you opportunity. I'm sorry?
No, I was like, yeah.
It gives you a chance to still discuss it at the retreat. We can do that. And we'll do that. I'm good with that.
That's good direction. So staff will move forward in preparation for the planning board and for the Board of Commissioners at a joint public hearing to hear both the amended food truck ordinance as I've described tonight and the amended parking ordinance as I've described tonight.
It's great. Thank you. Thank you, Director Lauer. Any other questions or concerns from the board? All right. Good. I'm sorry, Commissioner Adams, I didn't come back to you. My apologies. You're good.
I'm good.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We are now going to move to the consent items that were pulled. So new business, C, strategic planning, consultant contract. Who pulled that?
I did.
Okay. Amber, Commissioner Davis.
Just wanted to give you opportunity, if you could, just go ahead and provide the information.
Sure, absolutely. So, well, first I want to just tell you, I think I may have told some of you all how much I love strategic planning, because I feel like I used the term North Star earlier, but I feel like strategic plans gives us an opportunity to have a lot of engagement. I'm having a hard time because I don't know if you're laughing at me or.
Oh, me?
But it gives us an opportunity to really hear from both the board on your priorities as well as the community and pull all of those things together to say this is what Zebulon is moving towards in the next 5 years. So we had a strategic planning process. We had, I believe, 19 proposals that we received from different firms on strategic planning. And then we had a committee of 6 or 7 team members come together and score the strategic plan proposals. And then we did interviews with 3 of the top companies, and Barry Dunn is the company that came out on top. And one of the reasons why they were the firm that we selected is both for their strategy around engagement, but also their capacity to be able to do a really good job over a 12-month period. So the plan, if the board should move forward with approving this tonight, is that we will kick off the strategic plan on April 10th during the board retreat, and that will give the board an opportunity to give feedback to the consultant on how we move forward with rolling out the strategic plan. It'll give you an opportunity to talk through what community members we want to target and how to engage different parts of the community, and then they'll build their plan from there. Once they build their plan, there'll be another session for the board to meet with the consultant, give their feedback on priorities. There'll be a couple different opportunities for community engagement, including virtual engagement with the community. They'll pull all of that information together into a draft priority list, and then they'll come back and meet with the board again to give you an opportunity to give feedback on what they've gathered. And then from there, they'll put the final strategic plan together. That document should be finished by February or March of next year at the latest, right in time for us to prepare our budget for FY28. And that document will guide our budget discussions and priorities for the next 5 years, so from 2028. So very excited about that. I understand how much the board wants to be involved and wants to make sure that we have lots of community engagement. I've already talked to them about making sure that they have a very specific engagement for youth. And so we're looking forward to getting started, and I think the team is really excited about it as well.
Thank you.
No,
Commissioner Davis?
No, thank you. She gave the information I was looking for.
Good deal.
Just looking for the opportunity for discussion and making sure that the board and the community's voices are heard. This will give us an opportunity to have a plan of how we're moving forward. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis?
Yes, it has.
I mean, Commissioner Baxter, sorry. Commissioner Baxter, anything? Commissioner Adams? Commissioner Rolla? Mayor Pro Tem?
No, I think it's just something that Commissioner Davis has been asking for a while, so it's kind of getting us on that same page. I look forward to it.
Let's do it. Thank you.
So do we need to make a motion to approve the consultant contract?
Do that after we look at the other one, so we can just approve the consent agenda at one time. Yeah, thank you. And now the consent agenda, or new business D, Wyrick, Robbins, Yates, and Ponton LLP contract. I'm not sure who pulled that. Davis? Oh,
That was at your
okay.
request?
I think just to kind of like just tell what's going on, Dan, if you'll take that so everybody understands the
Talking
sense
to
of the sense of transparency. If you're just going to do a brief synopsis of what we're offering those guys, my mic is not on. Oh, well. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
If there's specific questions about that contract, I'd be happy to answer it. I've reviewed it. There were some edits made on a few little things, but unless there's specific questions, I don't have any issue with
okay,
that.
sounds good. Commissioner Roy, I know you had quite a bit. I want to give you the opportunity to as well. Make sure
I just wanted to make sure, Dan, that we request some of those documents. There's a clause in there where they can, shred or terminate, discard our documents, that we have them for the last 2 or 3 years, just in case we need them.
I believe that's one of the changes we made. So that has been addressed, and any public records in their possession, they agree to retain pursuant to the retention schedule.
Sounds good. Yep.
All right. Thank you very much. Commissioner Roa, you good? Yep. Commissioner Adams? Commissioner Baxter? Commissioner Davis? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you all so much. And now, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there a discussion? All in favor? We're going to do a roll vote. Commissioner Baxter?
Favor?
Commissioner Adams? Huh? Oh, Commissioner Aroa?
Favor.
Commissioner Davis?
Favor?
Mayor Pro Tem? Motion passes. Thank you.
Just raise one procedural issue. When y'all are dealing with the consent agenda, if there's items that you want to pull out of the consent agenda for discussion, I think the proper procedure is to put those in either new or old business, depending on where it would go, and then approve the consent agenda, the items remaining in the consent agenda as the consent agenda, rather than
Putting them on new
because the whole point of
business.
the consent agenda is these are items that don't even require discussion. So if you're pulling something from consent, it should be placed in new or old business.
All right. So do we need to do,
Being that it was only 2 in there, that would be,
If you're pulling all items out of consent, then you just move those to
Tonight? That's what I originally thought we were.
understood it, the motion that was made was to approve both items on the consent agenda.
So should we?
right, so do we need to do another
I think
motion?
if you're pulling them from the consent agenda, you would approve them each individually.
okay.
Because
Agreed.
then,
We got
once
two
you
different-
pull them off of the consent agenda.
They're no
there's
longer the
a
consent agenda.
agenda.
Correct, right. So do we need to do that over?
If that was the vote to approve both at once, I think it'd be more appropriate to have a separate motion for each item.
Okay, all right. Okay, somebody make a motion.
Back and say that I would like to make a motion to approve the strategic planning consultant contract.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion passes. Do we have another motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Wyatt Robbins' contract.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Quasi,
I would just say I'm so excited about the strategic planning process.
Katie is very excited about the strategic plan.
Agree with you. Have
You are
like,
beaming with joy,
been through the
Katie.
interview process.
All right.
Picked a good one.
Yes. And Manager Crosby, quasi-judicial process? Is that you?
turn it
Oh, no,
over
that's
to-
Tia. All right.
I'll come over there so y'all can see me here.
As we transition, Director Lauer, can you send me your slides from your presentation, please? Or send it to the board?
Hartzog.
Thank you.
Attorney Hartzog. I want to make sure I was saying your name correctly.
Got it perfect,
Thank
yeah.
you so much. Please go right ahead.
So before we start on this agenda item, I want to clarify what this discussion is. This is not a discussion specifically of the upcoming hearing. We're not allowed to discuss, the pros and cons of any particular project that may come before the board. But I wanted to discuss some procedure in general terms with the board. And one of the things I wanted to raise is that under 160D 406, which is the statute on quasi-judicial procedure, subsection D of that statute says that the local government shall have the right to participate as a party at the evidentiary hearing. And so what I wanted to raise is I want to make sure two things. One, does the board want the town to participate as a party at upcoming hearings, whether it be the one coming up or future hearings? And assuming the board, or I don't assume, but if the board were to say that, yes, we would like the town to participate as a party in these proceedings, the standard practice for something like that is to have a separate attorney advising the board and have a separate attorney presenting on behalf of the town or asking questions on behalf of the town. So I wanted to raise that with the board, and then I wanted to raise one possible solution or one possible path forward if the board feels like having the town participate as a party would create some sort of bias on behalf of the board because the board represents the town. I don't believe it would as a matter of law, but if the board felt like that would weigh on the board in a way that would make them unable to serve as a neutral decision maker, one path forward might be, we do have a board of adjustment, and I believe under our UDO, the Board of Adjustment has the authority to hear matters that, as directed by the Board of Commissioners, as well as matters that they have the right to hear under statute. The Board of Adjustment does have the right to hear quasi-judicial matters such as special use permits. So I just wanted to raise these things and one, find out, does the board want to participate going forward in these quasi-judicial hearings as a party? If so, would the board want to retain an attorney to act on the town's behalf on those hearings? Or if the board feels like, you know, having the town participate in a hearing might create a perception of bias or might affect the board's ability to serve as an impartial decision maker, there is this other path, I believe, that the board would have the right to refer matters to the Board of Adjustment. So I raised that. I guess I just would like to know, does the board want to participate going forward in these types of hearings, since we have the statutory right to participate as a party, but the board sort of is the head of the town and is the decision maker? Does the board want to participate in these proceedings as a party, or would we prefer to keep it as the board is the decision maker and the town does not participate?
Thank you.
And before we get into discussion, I just want to clarify this. We do not need to talk about the upcoming hearing or any upcoming hearing that may be before the board. I'd like to keep this discussion sort of more general terms of how we might handle these matters in the future.
Thank you. Discussion from the board. Oh, everyone's hands up. All right. Commissioner Baxter.
I think that we absolutely should be participating. I think we would be remiss if we were not asking for council to be representing the town's best interests. I believe that the board is fully capable of making decisions as a whole. I just don't see that there's a need to go to the Board of Adjustments, at least at this time. That's my personal opinion. But I do think that it is important that we make sure that we have an outside counsel, and at least for the short interim, we've got a contract with another firm that we can utilize, or maybe use an entirely different one. I don't care. I just think that it's important for us to make sure that we have someone representing any town's best interests.
All right. Okay.
Just a quick question. You said that if we do it now and then, we're not setting precedents where we have to use them every time. We can select when we want to have outside counsel, or if we do this, we're setting that precedents where it has to be reoccurring.
I think you can do it on a case-by-case basis, but I think as a general rule, if the board would like someone to represent the town in a particular proceeding, we would certainly need authorization from the board to retain an attorney. You could authorize the town manager to retain an attorney. So I don't think it needs to be every single time you have to do it a certain way. But if the town believes they would like to participate, or the town should have the right to participate, I don't want to make decisions based on particular cases, but you know, maybe the town manager could determine through consultation with planning staff if a particular hearing upcoming is one that the town may have interest in being represented and presenting at the, so maybe that's because I don't want this board, if this board is the one making the decision, to be deciding necessarily on particular cases. We want an attorney here, we don't want an attorney here. Perhaps the best path forward is to authorize the town manager in consultation with the planning staff to retain an attorney if the town staff believes that it may be beneficial to the town to participate as a party in the hearing.
I'm comfortable with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Baxter. Commissioner Roa? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Mayor Pro Tem, did that answer?
Yes, ma'am.
You good? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Roa?
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Baxter 100%. I think this board is fully capable. I think it's our responsibility. And I think we should get outside counsel to represent our interests. And then, so, yep.
Commissioner Adams?
I agree as well.
Okay.
And just so that everyone in the audience we see so few quasi-judicial
Yeah.
hearings anymore. It used to be that everything that came before us was a quasi-judicial process. And this might be the only one that we see for years. It just doesn't happen that frequently.
I mean, I
Thank you.
can test that 4.5 years and I don't see one. So,
Right.
so literally don't see one.
And
Commissioner, I'm going to let Commissioner
sorry, go
Davis.
No, it's what Commissioner Baxter already stated, exactly what I was going to state, so I 100% agree. This board,
okay.
representation of this board, yes.
And we are planning to
Good.
do some quasi-judicial training for the board before the next.
That would be great. That would be great. Yeah.
When will that be? The training and then the quasi-judicial?
So the Board of Adjustment, or not Board of Adjustment, I'm sorry, I'm so used to the Board of Adjustment hearing these. When the board meets to consider a special use permit, I know we have a hearing set. We could, prior to that hearing, have some quasi-judicial training. That way it will be fresh in your minds.
That's great.
Now, I want to caveat that the training will be training in general terms, not specific to any particular matter.
Of course.
So questions related to any particular matter need to be saved for the hearing itself. But
So we will be receiving that for the April meeting?
yes,
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
That's great.
if that is the will of the board to do it at that time.
Yes.
Definitely is. I think we all are very much in favor of the training. Like Mayor Pro Tem said, 4.5 years we've seen one, so a refresher is definitely warranted. Any other discussions? Do you have direction that you need, Manager Crosby?
I would just say, are you all okay with the training being before the meeting?
Yes.
Yeah. That's great. Jeremy, Mr. Clerk, you have that? That's good. All right.
I can craft the notice for that, because that would be a special called meeting in advance of the regular joint public hearing.
It could be an agenda item on the regular called meeting. I believe.
Good, okay. Easy enough.
I like that.
Even with
Could be
the
an
earlier
agenda item on the regular call meeting.
time, it was still. if
It
we-
doesn't
Well,
need to
no,
be an
you're right.
earlier
If we want to do it earlier, it would need to be a special called meeting. So we could.
But if we
could
do it
notice
at
that way.
6, we could put it on the agenda.
I wanted to clarify if we were doing it at 5:30 or 6.
Yeah, so if we
It may be beneficial to do a special notice meeting so that we can not delay the hearing itself.
Okay.
And have some training ahead of time.
And while we've got time to craft that notice, do we want to shoot for 5:30 or 5 o'clock?
5:30.
5:30.
5:30,
The best
everybody else is
interest
supposed to
of the
be time.
board.
It's too much.
15, please. No.
About an hour. So,
Like, let's do it.
I mean, I can be expedient with my time.
And if there's anything that you want to send us beforehand for us to look over, to prepare before we get there, like,
Don't.
that's fine as well.
Yeah.
Sounds good. You have,
I'll end this discussion with the caveat to continue not to discuss with anyone any upcoming hearing, because any information you receive about a particular hearing needs to be at the hearing itself, so that you're only making a decision with the evidence presented at the public hearing.
Thank you.
All right. Everyone, all hearts and mind. All right. Will there be a motion to,
We didn't have a closed session.
huh?
Yeah.
No, we don't. We don't approve the agenda.
Okay.
It's not?
No.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Second? Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.